What's the worst decision you've ever made financially? Story 1. The family of my great-grandmother made the house available to me for $65,000 as a quick sale after she passed away. I refused. It was purchased by my sister and is now worth more than $1 million. Story 2. I've just generally been too reckless with money in my life. I haven't ever really made any single huge financial mistakes. I've just made a large number of smaller impulsive money decisions that has led to me having very little saved. Currently working on it though, and I am doing better. Story 3. Buying horses was probably the worst financial decision I ever made. At this point, over the last 12 years, the amount I spent on them is easily the equivalent of a down payment on a pretty decent house or a few years of earlier retirement. But it is also one of the most satisfying decisions I made on an emotional level. Could not imagine living without them. Story 4. Initially I was thinking going to college, but as I reflected a little more I realized going to college wasn't the worst financial decision I've made // it was all the stupid choices I made in college, instead of studying. Story 5. Getting together with my girlfriend. She's amazing and is the best thing that happened to me in every way except finance. But this girl cannot manage money. She says yes to every retail credit card, has 12 types of monthly subscription boxes, skincare, food, socks, etc., and had a very costly psychic subscription. I've had to help her make rent, manage bills, etc. Some people just should not be responsible for money. Subscribe. Story 6. I didn't go after my abusive ex-husband for the alimony I was awarded in the divorce. It was a lot of money and it was very hard to get by without it, but I felt just could not spend one more minute thinking about him. So I just let it go. Financially it was a terrible decision. Emotionally it was an excellent decision. Also, it forced me to grow and push myself in my career. But it was extremely hard for several years and I have never really caught up financially. Story 7. My parents went to a 2-month trip and left me money for food, school supplies, and things my brother needed. I spent like 95% of the money on a new graphics card. Needless to say, my dad was not happy when I told him we needed more money to buy food. Story 8. I smoked way too much weed and wax when I was like 19. I also smoked almost 2 packs of cigs a day. I quit the smokes and cut heavily back on the weed, and smoking out all my friends, and bought a new car since mine at the time was a total junker that kept breaking down. This was back in 2015 and I still have that car. It's a few weeks from hitting 150,000 miles. I'm glad I have it instead of just inhaling 100s a month. Story 9. Not insisting that my ex put my name on the deed to our house. We bought it together, but just in his name because my credit was terrible at the time. He always swore if anything ever happened between us, we would sell the house and split the profit. Instead, when we broke up, he kicked me out, had his mom sell her house, and built her a giant in-law suite. Story 10. Filing bankruptcy when I didn't owe that much. I was young and overwhelmed and thought I couldn't pay it off, but in hindsight I see I could have. Ruined credit for 10 years. Couldn't even get a phone in my own name. Had to get prepaid, which was super expensive. Couldn't get an apartment. Couldn't get a car. Story 11. Getting married to someone with major known issues. A divorce was a foregone conclusion from the beginning. It's a nice characteristic to be helpful to other people, but when looking for a mate, the couple needs to recharge each other's batteries so they can both go back out into the world each day. I thought if I was consistently supportive, she would realize that I wasn't like the other people who had hurt her in the past, and then she would appreciate me. She needed a friend and she needed therapy, not a husband. Story 12. Relying on my investment counselor to control my money without following up on it. Before Black Monday my portfolio was just under $1 million. After his was only worth $40,000. He never warned me and all of it was in tech stocks. Story 13. We ended up having my wife's sister and her daughter stay with us after helping them come into the country as a refugee. After a year, My wife bought them a ticket home because she couldn't take it anymore. Then her sister said she wasn't going back, so instead we quickly found them an apartment that I had to co-sign just to get them out of our house. Even my sister was shocked at how poorly it all worked out. Everyone else we know who had relatives come in as refugees has those relatives try to make the best of it and be helpful. No, so with my SIL. Well, she did the cooking, but that's about it. We originally told her that if she came we'd have to pull our youngest from daycare, and she'd have to watch him. She was less than enthusiastic about having to watch her nephew. And then she was basically too busy with her own stuff, so we ended up keeping him in daycare despite the expense. Honestly, it's nice having our house back. Story 14. Far from the most expensive thing people will probably mention, but buying a Wii U when it came out, I loved the original Wii and spent a fair share of hours playing some games during my high school days. Turned out the Wii U fucking sucks, lol. Thanks so much for watching to the end, and I'll see you next time, guys.